Saviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we were looking at the fifth requirement in the set of 6 qualifications: Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha and Shraddha. So Shraddha, as we saw, it is faith and total trust in the words of a teacher who is capable of handling the scriptures. So as we saw in the morning, so the teacher should have also been exposed to this teaching tradition, to this methodology. Because only a person who is exposed to this methodology, that person can communicate it effectively. Because it's all about communicating it properly. And even though this is important in any other subject, this becomes more important as far as Vedanta is concerned. Because it's subtler than any other topic. It's more abstract than any other topic. So any other topic is available for verification by any of our sense organs. But Vedanta is a subject that you cannot tangibly verify. So that's why it becomes even more essential to be able to communicate it properly. See, spirituality is something that everyone has an opinion about. Anyone can say something and then get away with it because you cannot hold that person to what he or she has said. But here the uniqueness of this methodology is that they have created a beautiful structure with which it can be communicated effectively, and the teacher can pass on the knowledge that he has to the student. Exactly what the teacher is seeing, the student is also made to see. And this is about something that is very, very abstract and not available for normal perception. So that's just amazing if you think about it. So that is why the teacher needs to be able to communicate it effectively. And that can happen only if the teacher has also gone through the system. And that is faith at one level. And also faith in the words of the Shastra, in the words of the scriptures. So not doubting what is said and having complete trust. And that's because the scriptures are the primary source of knowledge. As far as the real self is concerned. So they are the only source of knowledge. Then we can have the question why. So why can't we get this knowledge from any other source? So we call the scriptures as pramana, as the primary means of knowledge. Any knowledge that we normally get, the primary way of gaining the knowledge is through direct perception. So you have to verify it or observe it with your eyes. You should be able to hear it with your ears. You should be able to taste it with your tongue. Or you should be able to smell it or touch it. So these are the 5 ways in which we get any knowledge. And this is called direct perception. And this is the primary source, primary means. And then based on direct perception, you have other ways of gaining knowledge also. So the next method of knowing anything is by inference. And there are 4 other ways of gaining knowledge, and we will see that all 4 of them, what I'm going to talk about, they depend upon direct perception. So they are not independent of direct perception. Like inference, the next one. Inference, the classic example that is given is that when you see smoke somewhere, then you can without a doubt infer that there is fire somewhere else, which is causing the smoke. Or in normal everyday life also, we use this inference a lot of times. I mean, almost all the time. So when we pass by a place and then we hear someone talking, or we see some creation, then we infer that someone must be responsible for creating this. So that is the minimal inference. Nothing could have come up on its own. And we see a beautiful structure, then the inference, even though we don't know who has built it, then the inference is that someone must have built it. Someone must be responsible for it. So this is one-step inference. And then the next method of gaining knowledge is by more than one step inference. Like all of medical science. Whenever someone has a fever, then if you go to a doctor, then they will make you undergo some tests. And then look at the test result, and if anything is abnormal, then the inference is that because this value is abnormal, you are having fever. So this is not direct inference, this is multiple step inference. So this is caused by this bacteria or virus. And then increase in the bacteria, in that bacteria or virus is causing fever. So this is multiple step inference. And we do it all the time. And the fourth way of gaining knowledge is by example. Like you have not seen a particular bird, but someone is trying to describe how that bird looks. Then what that person will do is that he or she will give you some other example and then say that this bird looks very similar to what you know. So the bird you have knowledge of. So that is also one way of knowing something. And it could be another animal, or it could be even in terms of describing a person. So if you have to meet a person, then you have not seen that person, someone has to describe. So then the person will say that this person has absolutely no hair on his head. So this person is totally bald. Or this person is very fair or very dark. So something like that, some unique feature of that person. With that you can understand what is being talked about. And then the fifth accepted way of knowing something is by non-existence. So you see a paper on my hand. Now I have taken away. What do you see on my hand? You see nothing. But you don't see nothing. What was there earlier at one point of time, that has been removed. And that is what you say as nothing. So there is nothing on the palm. So when someone says nothing, then it means that there was something in that place at a certain time, but in the same place at this time, there is nothing there. So when someone says nothing, then that nothing also has to be communicated. What nothing is there. So nothing is not a separate entity, but Whatever was there at an earlier time is not there at this time. So why I'm talking about this is all these 5 methods, which are all dependent upon direct perception, they are all valid means of knowledge. All the knowledge that we have got in any subject, whether it is physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, engineering, music, arts, dance, all of them are based on direct perception. And whatever discoveries that human beings have made about the world, about something on the earth, or something in some other planet, all those discoveries are by observation. But when it comes to me, who am I? None of these methods work. Because the real self or the Atma or consciousness, it is not available for observation. So no one can see consciousness. So no one can prove consciousness. And that is why it cannot be a result of the observation of any human being. Anything that human beings have discovered, that has to be based on observation. Otherwise we will ask the question, so what is the proof? And how do you prove your discovery? And this person will say that this is what I have seen, and that is the reason for discovery. But as far as the Atma, as far as consciousness is concerned, then none of these work. But we say that there is a valid means of knowledge. And that valid means of knowledge can only be something that is not attributed to any human authorship. So human discovery. So it has to be an independent means of knowledge. Because anyone who claims to have discovered the Atma, as I said earlier, that person cannot substantiate his claim. His claim is as good as anyone else's. So you can always ask, so because it is not available for observation, how do you claim to have discovered it? If he claims, then it's good for him. We can always give the benefit of doubt. But there is nothing backing that claim. And that is why we need an independent means of knowledge which will help us gain this understanding And that is why we need the Veda. That is why we need the Upanishads. This is the reason we completely trust the Upanishads. Because we don't have anywhere else to go. There is no other source that we can rely upon. No other source that we can trust. And this is for the simple reason because it is not available for observation. The Atma is described as formless. It is all pervasive. It is changeless. And then it is not manifest in any form. It cannot be conceived of as an idea. And something that answers to all these descriptions, or that to which all these descriptions are possible, that needs to be understood only by an independent means of knowledge, which we call the Upanishads. In fact, the word Upanishad, it can be broken into three. So, Upa, Ni, and Sad. Upanishad. In Sanskrit is a highly etymological language. So every word that we see, so the natural tendency of anyone who knows the language properly is to break it up mentally. Break it up into the smallest components possible. So the core of the word is the root. So which is like the heart and soul of the word. And then you have prefixes or suffixes. So the word Upanishad, which is the source of all our knowledge. So it can be broken into three parts. So Sad is the root, and then Ni and Upa are the prefixes. So Upa stands for the Atma. And then Ni stands for definitely, conclusively. That is the meaning of Ni. And then Sad, the root has three meanings. So one is disintegrating. And the other meaning is knowing. And the third meaning is putting an end to. So Upanishad, the word, it can have three different meanings which amount to the same thing. It is that refers to the source of knowledge. So Upanishad can mean something that disintegrates or destroys one's ignorance. And then the other meaning of the word Upanishad is something that can help you know about the Atma. Destroy ignorance of the Atma. Something that can help you gain knowledge of the Atma positively. And then the third meaning of the word Upanishad could be something that could put an end to this cycle of birth and death. So these are the three meanings of the word Upanishad. And that represents the source of the knowledge of the Atma. So Upanishad means something that also helps you get rid of ignorance of something that is most intimate to you, which is yourself. And which is responsible or on which everything else depends. And something that would help you gain knowledge of that which is most intimate to you, the closest to you, and something that would help put an end to samsara. So this is the meaning of the word Upanishad, and that is the source of all our knowledge. That is the primary source of our knowledge. Anything that anyone says about the Atma, that has to be validated by what is said in the Upanishad. If it contradicts what the Upanishad says, then we have to reject that explanation or that understanding. So that is the amount of confidence and faith that we have in the Upanishads. It is very necessary, because if this source was not there, then there would be no way of knowing ourselves, knowing the truth of ourselves. So thankfully the Almighty has given us this knowledge in a certain form. Otherwise, there is no way of knowing. Someone somewhere could gain this accidentally or because of some punya. But there would be no way of communicating it. So this is why we hold the Upanishads as very, very sacred. And that's why Shraddha, faith and trust in the source of knowledge, which is like a mirror that reflects ourselves. So whatever the Upanishads say, so we try to understand, and then we try to look at ourselves in the light of how the Upanishads describe the truth of ourselves. If the Upanishads say that you are formless. If the Upanishads say that you are eternal, then the first response would be, how can I be eternal? Because I have a date of birth. So I was born on a particular day, at a particular place, to certain parents. But the Upanishad comes and says that you are timeless. You are unborn also. So then it is my responsibility to look at that description and then see how it applies to me. So the immediate response would be to reject it. But then because the Upanishads say that, I cannot reject it also. I have to, because they cannot be disproved. So I have to somehow transform my understanding to conform with the description that is given in the Upanishad. So this is true of every description that is there. Like Lord Krishna says in the Gita, 2nd chapter. Avyaktaha, avyaktoyam, avyaktaha ayam. I am unmanifest. This is unmanifest. I am is this. This Atma is unmanifest. But we are all there right in front. So how can we say it is unmanifest? It means that which keeps you alive, that does not manifest itself separately manifest itself. But that is the truth, that is the essence of everything that is there in the universe. And then he says, achintyaha. It cannot be conceived of. But if I take myself to be limited or to be just restricted to the body-mind, then I can be conceived of, so I can be talked about. So, and there are various other descriptions that are given also. Avikarya. Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam. So that I do not undergo any modification. So like this, there are various descriptions of the Atma. The Upanishad will say, Taittiriya Upanishad will say that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So then we will inquire into the meaning of what we understand as the meaning of the word Satyam, what we understand as the meaning of the word Jnanam. Every word we will look into it and try to understand what the Upanishad is saying. And then the Upanishad also says that you are all pervasive. See, even this knowledge that I could be something different from what I appear as, that also I could arrive at with certain discernment, with certain analysis. But that is all pervasive. That knowledge I cannot arrive at if I do not have an independent means of knowledge. See, I can say that consciousness pervades everywhere. But what is the basis of saying that? So that is because we get that understanding from the original source. So that I am all pervasive, that I am limitless, that I am not what I think I am. That knowledge can come only from the Upanishads, and that is why this has to be the primary source of all knowledge about the truth of ourselves that we get. That is why we have so much value. This is the only source. Without that, we can as well give up. Because if someone says something, then that person's word is as good as mine. There is no reason to give that more importance than what I think about myself. But when the Vedas say that, then you sit up and try to understand what the Vedas are saying. So this is why one needs total Shraddha. So total faith. It is like complete unquestioning faith. Unquestioning in the sense, non-skeptical faith, not unquestioning. So non-questioning, total absolute faith. So you can say absolute faith. So that is the fifth qualification that is needed for anyone who wants to pursue this path of self-inquiry. And then the next requirement is called the samadhana, the last one. Samadhana would be a certain ability to focus, concentrate. So your mind is available to receive this knowledge. Suppose you are sitting in a class and keeping awake is itself a problem. I'm not criticizing anyone, but still sometimes it can happen like that. So the ability to focus, concentrate, that has to be increased over time. And that is also a function of the amount of interest that a person has in the subject, or the intensity with which you want this knowledge. See, if you are really interested in something, like there is a football match, or anything that you are really into, then you would not fall asleep. So however much you try, even if you try to fall asleep, still there is some sound on the TV, immediately you'll wake up and then you'll want to know what happened. So the amount of concentration or the amount of focus that one has is a function or a measure of the intensity with which I am pursuing this path. So, better than saying that concentration needs to be improved, we can say that I need to develop more intensity, more interest. Then automatically the concentration will improve. See, that will also happen when you start loving the process, liking the process. In the beginning, it may appear like uninteresting, or like there is a lot of effort required. So even to go through this process of study, you have to put in a lot of effort. But then when you start liking it, then it becomes effortless. So there is no struggle in putting in effort. So the focus, the concentration automatically happens. So that is also given as one of the requirements for anyone who wants to pursue spirituality. So you have to enjoy the process. It won't come overnight. It will take its own time, depending on one's own samskara. But then you will have to keep at it. There is no other way. There is no other solution. So this is the only solution. So better start enjoying it. And the whole journey becomes fascinating over a period of time. You get more and more involved. Then it becomes really fascinating. And after some time, if someone asks, or you would yourself say, that for $1 million or more, I would not give up what I'm doing. So this is the best thing that has happened to me. See, any amount of money anyone promises you to give up this pursuit, it will become meaningless. So that is why the best way is to start enjoying the process. And automatically focus will come, concentration will come. Samadhana. And then the next one, the last qualification. So the six-fold qualification, third set is over. And the last one is called mumukshutvam. So we'll have a short break and then we'll come back and continue with mumukshutvam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.